how it goes. Now, this is the part that we should hone in on and really focus in on, because it is actually different than what was said by leadership at Ohio State in a piece that I want to get to that was from the Columbus Dispatch this week. So Gene Taylor actually said he feels like collectives can't really be the same, and that they wouldn't really be able to operate the same way that they are right now once we get into revenue sharing.
In today's NIL world, really can't be the same based on the settlement language. From our understanding is individual donors cannot give to a third party for pay for play. You can still have a corporate true NIL deal, and that's still allowable, but will the collectives be able to maintain, and can we continue to ask the donors to give to a collective and to give the athletics to help support the revenue sharing? I don't think we can.
That one I heard, and I thought, man, I feel like that actually would be fairly controversial. I appreciate, again, Gene Taylor and his insight there. I was like, that seems fairly controversial. I think a lot of people feel like collectives will still be a pretty big part of this, and that the big boys in the SEC and Big Ten are going to be hitting their $22 million revenue sharing number and then coming in over the top with NIL collectives to provide even more money. Now, he is right that it seemed like the initial language on that was like, well, it would have to be more of a corporate sponsorship as opposed to individual donors. I just think a lot of people feel like that'll get changed, sorted out. There will be a workaround. Like, there's just no way that, especially if you follow what I'm going to read to you from Ohio State, where they're saying they feel like it'll be split basically 50-50 between male and female athletes, the $22 million that comes in, that you're going to say, all right, you only have $11 million for all of your men's sports at Ohio State, which includes football right now. And Troy Dannon at Nebraska is saying Ohio State's paying $23 million for their football NIL right now. You're going to cut that way more than in half, because you're going to have to spread some of it to men's basketball and other men's sports. And that's just basically going to be it, unless it's some big corporate deal. And you'll have to get big corporate sponsors to be the ones fueling all of this. They would find, I'm sure, some way. I would think some way to get the individual donors involved there. And let me read to you what was said at Ohio State here. So Ross Bjork is the relatively new AD there at Ohio State. Based on the latest legal guidance presented to the athletic department, Bjork anticipates the amounts dispersed to male and female athletes will need to be proportional to their enrollment at the university. Okay, so Ohio State is 52% female and 48% male, meaning you would have, in essence, a 50-50 split there. In fact, a little bit more of that $22 million would be given to female athletes because of Title IX. The article goes on to say how payments are further broken down among the men's and women's sports remains unknown. Bjork said he did not expect the payments to be evenly divided between the athletes, which it seems obvious, right? Not every sport is going to receive the same money. That's what that would mean. So you'd be giving football more than baseball, for instance. And Bjork says there are going to be hard decisions because it's a recalibration of the model. An attempt to bridge any potential gaps is to be made through compensation from booster-supported collectives or other business entities that strike NIL deals with athletes. Revenue sharing is great, Bjork said, but NIL is not going away, and we would be naive to think that $22 million is going to be the market. Let's stop that. There's more of the quote here. But the AD at Ohio State is saying it would be naive to think $22 million is going to be the market. And that's I would subscribe to that theory. I certainly do. And I'm somebody that would benefit greatly if $22 million was the market. If $22 million was the market, that would be the best thing for Big 12 schools. And you just push everything all into that 22, and that would be a cap. You know, people talk about like a cap, basically, sort of a salary cap in college sports. That's what we would be talking about there, like a $22 million salary cap. But Ross Bjork says, look, that's pretty naive. He said it's going to increase, but that's not going to be the market. It's going to be that plus NIL, and the programs that figure out the NIL infrastructure are going to thrive. We want to be one of those programs. Now, I'm open to maybe Gene Taylor is coming down more on the semantics line here, where he's saying, hey, right now the language is You wouldn't really be able to do that with the collectives. That will be different. And maybe Ross Bjork is kind of in agreement there, but saying like, we'll find a workaround, whether that's, funneling money through the corporations, like whatever it's going to be, someone will figure it out. But I have to say, like, everything he is saying here is 100% accurate. It's college athletics. Like, it used to be money totally under the table. Then wild west of collectives at first. Some schools jumped out way in front on that and got it figured out. You had Miami paying Nigel Pack $800,000, right, to go play when that was considered like, oh my God, what is happening there? Someone will figure it out. Like it's too competitive of an environment for somebody not to. Someone will figure it out, and it's going to get up over that $22 million number if you want to really play with the big boys. Now, Ohio State saying, I do think it's of significance here that Ohio State's athletic director is basically saying that because of Title IX, that seems to be the way the cookie will crumble on that Title IX would force them to split it pretty evenly, because that is one of the biggest question marks right now that people have about how all this is going to go down. So I would just say a different tone. I mean, a different tone between the Big 12 and the Big 10 in terms of what athletic directors are saying here about how the NIL and revenue share payments are going to work out. Interesting stuff there. I'm telling you where I'm at. I love Gene Taylor to death. Think he's an excellent athletic director. The guy has overseen an athletic department that in the last 2 years has won the Big 12 in football, gone to a Sugar Bowl, been to an Elite Eight in basketball, been to a super regional in baseball. The women's basketball team was ranked number 2 in the country and hosted tournament games. He's got a very successful thing going within the athletic department at K-State. The Big 12 would be inclined potentially to think, in the words of Ross Bjork, a little more naively with this because it would benefit them, but also could just be playing coy. There's a lot going on clearly behind the scenes. The Big 12 isn't dumb. Gene Taylor's not dumb. Brett Yormark certainly is not dumb. It's a lot that I think still needs to get sorted out. Also of note, another thing, just my little notepad as I think about what's going to happen on July 9th and 10th in Vegas at Big 12 Media Days. He was not very willing, Gene Taylor, to go into any of the private equity and naming rights stuff. So are we just going to get like a total no comment from Brett Yormark on that? Like, how will Yormark handle that, assuming that there are no finalized decisions made by the time that we get there? All things to ponder. All things to ponder. Let's ponder what Aloha Nate has to say. Appreciate you, Aloha Nate. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in tonight. Aloha Nate says, aren't Big 12 schools getting a new TV deal starting in 2025 and getting a raise from the playoff? Can't that money be used for revenue sharing? Yes, it can. It can. They are going to get some more money from that, but it's not going to be nearly enough to make up $22 million, right? So it's 31.7, the payout per team from the new TV deal. The college football playoff, they're getting obviously a lower percentage of the money than what the SEC and Big Ten are going to get. So that number will go up. But again, the problem becomes if there's not this $22 million cap, which Ross Bjork says would be naive to think that there is, then the SEC and Big Ten are just getting that much further ahead of you. Like both of those things go up for the Big 12, but both of those things go up more for the SEC and Big Ten. And in fact, there were tweets this week from reporters about the financials are starting to come out from Big Ten schools, like their projected budgets. I know John Wilner wrote about what was happening at Washington, for instance, and they use that to project that it's Big Ten schools are going to get $75 million. $75 million. I mean, it's legitimately a solid 30 more than what you're going to be getting in the Big 12 or the ACC. Like it's a sobering number. They will be that much further ahead, and that is going to help out a lot in the race to 22. It's going to help out a lot everywhere else. If you need to buy facilities, if it can pull some of the donor fatigue away by you can contribute more from the university to the rev share number, and donors would have to do less. Like there are a million ways that can benefit them more than it does for the Big 12. So that is the unfortunate thing, and that is Aloha Nate to go back to some of the criticism of the moves the Big 12 is contemplating. A lot of the detractors would say there's nothing you can do. Like in all this stuff, you make more money, they're going to make even more money than you, and you'll still fall further behind. So that is unfortunately kind of the reality there.